The first hire I ever made. This hire was a game changer for me, and I think it could be a game changer for you, especially many of my women coaches. And the first hire that I ever made, if you can believe it, actually, wasn't a graphic designer, wasn't even an assistant. My first hire that I ever made in my business was, wait for it, Hey, Courtney Sanders here. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to me, I'm a full-time online life and business coach as well as wife and mom. I wear all the hats and do all the things, but I wouldn't be able to wear all the hats and do all the things at this juncture in my business if I definitely didn't have a team supporting me. So as I'm recording this, I think it's about 10 people, whether it's contractors, vendors, actual employees, like W-2 employees that I'm paying payroll on, which is, I'm always like, wow, I can't believe I'm someone's employer, especially as I record this in March, which is coming up, tax season here in the US. Your taxes are due April 15th. So that's top of mind to me. But I thought it'd be fun to talk about the first hire I ever made, because this hire was a game changer for me. And I think it could be a game changer for you, especially many of my women coaches. So if you're curious about the first hire I ever made and the first hire that you should consider making in your business, stay tuned. Okay, the first hire I ever made in my business, first of all, I made this hire really before I hired myself. So I worked in corporate America for almost 5 years. And I started my business in 2014, started making money in 2015, and then I went full-time in 2016. So I was working for almost 2 years. I think it was a year and 8 months full-time in my business. Well, not full-time in my business, part-time in my business rather, but full-time in my job while I was working to generate enough revenue to get out of my business. And the first hire that I ever made, if you can believe it, actually, wasn't a graphic designer, wasn't even an assistant. My first hire that I ever made in my business was, wait for it, my housekeeper. Yes, so I'm cheating a little bit. Technically, it wasn't a business hire. It's not like I claimed those expenses on my taxes. For those of you who are CPAs, like you can't claim your housekeeper, or you can only claim your housekeeper for the portion that she cleaned of your, home office, and you got to take the square footage and divide it by the total square footage of your dwelling, and that percentage is the only thing that you can put. Listen, this is not an accounting conversation, okay? I didn't literally claim my housekeeper on my taxes, but in my mind, how I treated it, she was my first hire, and she was a game changer for me. Now, at the time, I hired my housekeeper once every 2 weeks, and I paid her $80. We lived in a 2-bedroom apartment. I was newly married with my husband. This was years ago, 2014, 2015. And yeah, my housekeeper was my first hire. And the reason I did that before I did anything else was because I had to make a decision about where I was spending my time and what would be the most valuable use of my time as a budding and fledgling entrepreneur. And so when you're thinking about your first hire, and I say hire in air quotes because it might not literally be a hire in your business, but it might be a hire kind of like in your mind, kind of in your business, like my housekeeper was, you really need to start doing a cost-benefit assessment. And I find that for a lot of entrepreneurs, especially a lot of women entrepreneurs, you're going to want to hire people that can take tasks, offload some tasks, particularly at home, domestic work, so that you have more time to pour into your business. Oftentimes people want to jump right into hiring people in their business, like, oh, let me hire a graphic designer or let me hire a virtual assistant. But I find that actual business hires, I do better hiring them once I've already initiated the process and determined what works best in my business, right? So for instance, even saying a virtual assistant, if you're just like, oh, I'm just starting my business and I'm not doing this work yet, but I heard that you need to hire and I'm gonna hire a virtual assistant, what happens is if you haven't gotten in a rhythm of doing that work yourself, you actually don't know what to delegate to the virtual assistant. So if you're curious about my other hires, first it was my housekeeper, and then after that it was my virtual assistant. My virtual assistant was so good at graphic design that I actually just made her my graphic designer, and then I hired another virtual assistant, but I knew to do that because I was the one working in the business first, doing all of those things. So yes, I was the one that was answering emails. I was the one that was scheduling content, and I was the one that was on Photoshop at the time. I don't know that Canva was out, or if it was out, it wasn't the way it is right now. So I was like teaching myself Photoshop and InDesign. A lot of my first digital products, you see those designs, like your girl created that. In fact, fun fact, my first workbook that I ever created in 2014 is called the Get What You Want Guide. You can actually still get it, it's on Amazon. The new design for it was done by my graphic designer, but the original design for it, I did that myself. I think in like Apple Pages or Keynote or something like that. So I was everything. I was the graphic designer, I was the virtual assistant, I was the chief bottle washer, right? I was doing all of those things, but I find doing those tasks in your business, at least for a little bit, actually helps you make a better hire because you know exactly what you need to be doing. So that's why I recommend start first thinking about what you can offload maybe on the domestic front so that you can spend more time in your business, more time understanding which roles are really important, which roles actually lead to revenue generation and which ones don't. I learned very on for me that having an attractive brand was really something that my community and my audience and my prospects really commented on. Like they really loved the visuals and the way my brand looked. And so I knew that that was a high value thing in my business. And so later on, I knew that that was something that I needed to hire out, but I never would have known that had I not been focusing on doing that in my business at first. So you wanna think about what are some domestic things, maybe home front things that you can hire out when you're first getting started in your business. Ask yourself what's taking, the most time. I grew up with an old school mama, me and my sister, Saturday morning, she's like, hey, it's 8 a.m. Time for you girls to get up, time to clean the house. And so I was already in that rhythm, I was already in that routine, even as an adult, but I found that, man, spending 4 hours on a Saturday, that was time actually I would have preferred to spend in my business because, you spend 4 hours, cleaning up, doing things on a Saturday. By then you get dressed, you're ready to go. Again, I was a newlywed, so by that time, my husband and I, we wanted to go explore the city and, hang out during the day and different things. I just didn't like that. I was already working full time in my job and then I'm spending, 4 hours on a Saturday cleaning up. Like, I was like, man, if I could just get 4 hours back every 2 weeks, I know that it would make a big deal in my business. So think about what would make a big deal for you. I know for a lot of people, meal prepping can be helpful and you don't necessarily need to hire a chef to do that. It might be that you just simply order from a meal prep service or some of those like meal kit services, like I forget them, it was one Freshly, or I don't know. I don't wanna give an unsponsored, review or something or a recommendation for them, but there's a bunch of them that maybe is helpful to you. I know Home Chef, that's another one. I know a lot of grocery stores often have prepackaged meals that you can purchase. Also dry cleaning, right? There are a lot of dry cleaning companies that will come pick up your dry cleaning so that you don't have to drop it off. Or maybe you hate doing laundry. There are laundry services that you can put all that laundry in a bag, drop it off at your front door, and they can come pick it up. So, start getting in the rhythm of buying your time back and practice it first on the home front because it'll teach you how to do it effectively in the actual business front. So that was my first hire. I hope this was super helpful to you. I would love to know if you're gonna do this, what is gonna be your first hire on the domestic front? Are you outsourcing laundry? Are you gonna get a housekeeper? What are you gonna work on? And if you wanna know even more, particularly about outsourcing and different things that you can do in your business, I invite you to download my outsourcing cheat sheet. It is a free cheat sheet that goes over where I find interns, what types of systems and tools that I use, how I got started in outsourcing in my business. And so it's super valuable. You can download that right now by clicking the link below. All right, thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And if you want even more where this came from, make sure that you are subscribed to my podcast, The Courtney Sanders Show, on both iTunes and Spotify. And if you can't wait for my next podcast episode or my next YouTube video, make sure you are following me on Instagram. It's Courtney L. Sanders on Instagram. And with that, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.